live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.
Benny Ricciardi is here to break down the day's betting board for you.
Let's go, Jerry. Go!
Taking a first look at the day's bets, it's time for the FTN Betting Show. Welcome to the FTN Betscast for Friday, May 6th here at FTN Bets, sponsored by our friends at Sleeper. Sleeper is the fastest growing fantasy platform today with millions of players. And now you can win on Sleeper by playing in their new over-under game. It's super easy to play. So first, in any sport, you're going to choose two or more players that you like, and you're going to pick the over-under. So for example, in basketball tonight, could be something like points, rebounds, assists, even three-pointers, turnovers, steals, anything that is listed there. Then you're going to choose an amount of money that you want to enter into the contest. And if you pick correctly, you can win anywhere from 2 times your money all the way up to 20 times your money if you pick 5 out of 5 and get them all correct. The main reason, though, why I'm excited about the over-under game on Sleeper is that it's the only app where I can join with my buddies and play together. It has a built-in group chat where I can see what you're playing, you can see what I'm playing, and we could all see what the guy who won, every day this week is playing, and we could follow along with everybody's picks. We could all sweat the games out together, and it's insanely fun when you and all your buddies are rooting for the same things to happen in order for everybody to get paid. So stop what you're doing right now and download the Sleeper app to play their new over-under game. You can have fun with your friends and make some money. So use promo code FTNBets when you sign up, and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100, meaning if you put in $100, you actually get $200 to bet with. So again, download the Sleeper app, use promo code FTNBets when you deposit, and go have some fun and make some money. There are terms and conditions that apply, so make sure you see Sleeper's terms of use for the details. Today, we have 2 NBA games that we're going to talk about. The playoffs, after a day off and a bunch of travel for these teams, we're going to get back into it tonight. We have 2 games tonight, 2 games tomorrow, 2 games on Sunday. So a busy weekend in the NBA. The first game we're going to talk about is going to be the Miami Heat against the Philadelphia 76ers. Miami is up 2-0 in the series. They won 106-92 by 14 points in the first game. They won 119-103, 16-point win in the second game. It switches now. We're going from Miami back to Philadelphia. Joel Embiid still out for the Philadelphia 76ers, which is the big news that we got to start with here because that changes everything. We mentioned last show when Joel Embiid plays, the Sixers average over 110 points a game. Without him, they drop down to 105. So they're 5 points less on offense when Joel Embiid doesn't play. On defense, they were giving up 106 points with Joel Embiid playing. In games Joel Embiid has not played, they've given up over 110. So they're 4 points worse on the defensive end. So they're 5 points worse on offense, 4 points worse on defense. Joel Embiid has basically been about a 9-point swing to the Sixers, whether or not he's played this year. They lost by 14 and 16. So even with those 9 points, you're probably looking at somewhere around 5 or 6 points is where, the spread should have been when the games were, if Joel Embiid would have played when those games were in Miami. It opened at -4.5 in the series, so pretty much in line with the numbers that we're talking about here. So with that in mind, if we're moving back to Philly right now, you got to change out, the home court advantage. So you take a couple points away from Miami, you put a couple more points on the other side. We've seen the first 2 games, we've seen the spread close at like 7.5 to 8.5, basically. So around here, just based on those numbers that we're looking at, you would expect the spread for this game to probably be somewhere around like 2 to 2.5 points. And that's actually not where it's sitting at the moment right now. So at the moment right now, let's see, where did this open? Let's get that first. So this opened at, was it -1.5, I think? Hold on one second. Let me get this exact number here because I don't want to give you guys the wrong number here that we have. So we had, let's see. Yeah, we had it open at 3.5. It's sitting around 3.5 as well. If you want to play the Miami Heat here tonight, -3 at -110 on DraftKings and PointsBet. That is the best place that you can get the Miami Heat here. That number is probably where it should be. I mean, you figure 2.5 points for home court advantage. So if we had 7.5, 8, you take 2.5 away from home court advantage, you're getting down to like, 5 or 6. You add 2.5 to the other side of the game for Philly, for them having home court advantage. It gets it down to like that 3.5 range, which is basically what we're seeing in the market right now. If you want to be on the Philadelphia 76ers side of this game, you can get them at plus 3.5 at the moment. They are plus 3.5 on FanDuel. They are plus 3.5 over on Caesars. I got to be honest, though. I mean, we just watched Miami beat this team by double-digit points in both games right now. And I don't see any way that that's going to flip here today, as long as Joel Embiid is not playing. So -3 on Miami, I still think is where the value is on this side. And that is where I would want to be here. Like I said, FanDuel PointsBet, you can get it at the -3. I think that's the number to go for here. As for the total, the total is a little bit tougher for me. The first game we had a 198 total. The second game we had a 222 total. We had this number open at 210.5 here today. You can get an over 210. -108 on WinBet is the best price you can get there. There's a lot of places where the 210 is -110 in the market. So you're not losing that many basis points if you don't have access to WinBet and you have to play it on like DraftKings, for example. As for an under, if you wanted to play the under in this game, 210.5 -105 on BetMGM is the best number we can get there to play the under. And again, that's right where it opened as well. It opened at that 210.5. So it really hasn't moved much. Couple basis points here or there, but we're sitting right around 210.5, which again is the number that it opened at here. So not a lot of movement overall for the for the game here today. I don't really have a lean one way or another on the total. Like I said, it's not like all these games have been high scoring or all these games have been low scoring. The first one was 198. The second one was 222. They're both about 12 points away from 210. I don't really know what to do with that there. There's not a lean in one direction or another, depending on how this game turns out. So I'm going to be sticking away from that today. So let's move on and talk about some of the player props, some of the player prop over-unders that we can look at here today. Tyrese Maxey has been a guy who's really taken a step forward in this playoff series, and even really this season in general towards the end of the year. Tyrese Maxey has been very good here. I like his over 22.5 points here today. You can get this if you want to play it on the sports books, -105 on Caesar. And I actually like this a little more on the sports books than I do on the sleeper app here in the over-under today. The reason why I'm so excited about this Tyrese Maxey play, he took 15 and 22 field goal attempts in the first two games, played 35 and 43 minutes, scored 19 and 34 points. So this is a guy that's out on the floor for, 35 to 40 minutes a game. This is a guy who's jacking up 15 to 20 shots. And this is a guy who's already averaging 27 points in a game in this series, or 26 points really per game in this series. So this is a guy who's already been scoring as well. And again, as long as Joel Embiid is out, there's a lot of shots to go around. There's a lot of scoring to go around. Somebody has to step up and do it. The other thing that I really like here is Miami made a concerted effort last game to play kind of like a matchup zone here. And the idea of this matchup zone is when James Harden was coming down the middle to drive to go to the basket, you even heard, Coach Spo say it when they were sitting there in the huddle. He wants him to see a wall. He wants him to not only see the defender that's in front of Harden, but he wants him to also see that there's another defender waiting on the outside for him to go. So the idea of what they're trying to do here is basically take the ball out of James Harden's hands and make the other guys beat you. Well, Tyrese Maxey had 34 points last game because when they took the ball out of his hands, or when him and Harden were the two guards up towards the top of all the offensive sets, if they're concentrating so much on Harden, that's going to open up some driving lanes and some open shots for a guy like Tyrese Maxey. And that's why I really like Maxey to get over to 22.5 points here today, because I do think he's going to be able to take another 17, 18 shots in this game, probably 4 or 5, 6 of them from three-point land, and he's going to be attacking the basket and going to the rim. Plus, he all the time when they push the ball, anytime they're in transition, he's a guy that's attacking the basket, trying to get there, trying to make his layup. So Tyrese Maxey over 22.5, -105 on Caesars. Definitely a bet that I'm going to be putting in the bet tracker here today. The other thing that I'm looking at here today is actually Bam Adebayo. Bam Adebayo over 18.5 points on the sleeper app is definitely one that I'm interested in here today for their over-under game. So sites like DraftKings and BetMGM have this at like -125, -130 here today, which is like a 55 to 57% chance of probability based on the implied probability of those odds. I like the daily double for Bam as well. The double for Bam as well here. You can get that at +105 on DraftKings. He's over 9.5 rebounds on all these sites at like -105, -110. You can get the 9.5 rebounds, I think, as low as -105. But that's why I like the double here, because you can get it at +105. And honestly, I think Bam is going to score really well here. Bam was one of the guys who started the first quarter off hot for Miami. And that's basically what he's been doing in this series. He can step out and hit that little, 10 to 12-foot jump shot. He's been a guy that's been able to kind of have his way with the slower DeAndre Jordan or the smaller guys like, Georges Niang and Reed, who Philly has basically had to run out there at the center position without Joel Embiid in there. None of those guys are going to be able to guard Bam in this series. He's been able to get rebounds. He's been able to finish around the rim. He's been open for those little pick and pop jump shots. This is a guy who's had over 20 points in each of the first two games. It's only 18.5 his number here today. So I felt like that was a little low. So again, on Sleeper, my favorite play out of this game is going to be Bam Adebayo over 18.5 points here today for the Miami Heat. So now let's talk about the Western Conference game we got here today. The Western Conference game is going to be the Phoenix Suns taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Phoenix up 2-0 in this series. They're actually up 6-0 on the season. They have beaten Dallas all 6 times these two teams have played this year. We talked about it last game. The 5 victories were 1 point, 7 points, 7 points, 8 points, and 8 points. They beat them in that last game by 20, which really helps that average winning margin out here. The 2 games that they did play at Dallas, they won one game by 1. They won the other game by 8. So those are interesting numbers to keep in mind because Phoenix today opened as a -1 favorite in this game, and you can still get them at -1. It's actually juiced down a little bit on DraftKings. You can get Phoenix -1, -105, which is a really good price there. And again, they beat them 6 games this year of the 6 games that they played. So I actually like Phoenix with the -1 here on DraftKings. I think that's a good number. I don't know. Maybe people are expecting a letdown, or maybe people are expecting Dallas to, play better at home or give a better effort. But I don't think effort's the problem. I think the problem is that outside of Luka Doncic in this series, there's really nobody else on this team that has given Phoenix all that much trouble. And I don't think that Dallas can all of a sudden turn this around. I just think Phoenix is the more talented team on both ends of the floor. Offensively, Dallas can't seem to figure out how to stop them. And then defensively, Dallas can't seem to figure out how to put points up on the board other than Luka Doncic just trying to play basically 5-on-1 at this point, which is what we've seen. Let's see. Let's take a look at the total here. The total is interesting in this game, and I'll tell you why the total is interesting. These teams played 4 times during the regular season. The highest score in any of those games, the highest total in any of those games was 217. You had a 210, a 216, a 217, and a 203. The 2 games that they played so far in the playoffs have finished 235 and 238. The total here today is 219, 219.5, depending on where you're looking at. You can get an over 219 on DraftKings at -110. You can get under 219.5 pretty much at every other site out there. FanDuel, BetMGM, PointsBet, Caesars, Unibet, SugarHouse, BetRivers. They all have this at 219.5 under -110. So that's the number that's out there. Really, the question you have to ask yourself is, how does this game play out? Does this game play out like the games played out between these two teams during the regular season? Or does this game play out the way it's played in game 1 and game 2? So why have we had those higher scores in game 1 and game 2 of the series? Well, in my opinion, the reason why we've had those higher scores is because the Phoenix Suns have had big leads early in those games at one point or another. And that leads Dallas to kind of have to force the pace and play faster to catch up. So, they're running it up the floor. They're taking quick threes. They're attacking. They're doing a lot of things that are kind of out of character for them. And that's why I'm kind of staying away from the total here today, but it's also why I really like Phoenix -1, because Phoenix forces Dallas to have to get out of their comfort zone and play a game a different way than they want to. You look at the Dallas scores throughout the season this year. This was a slow, methodical team that was very good with the ball, didn't turn it over, didn't do any of the the dumb stuff there. They were very comfortable winning games 98, 92 if they could. They didn't want to play these 125, 120 games that we've been seeing, the games that they've played so far in this series against Phoenix. It's not really the style that is their style. And that is what Phoenix has done, is Phoenix has taken them kind of out of their game and forced them to play a lot faster. That's why we've seen a lot of turnovers here for Dallas. We've seen a lot more possessions for Dallas in this series, and we've seen a lot more points scored here. So again, if you want me to tell you where my lean is going to be to the over. Again, you can get that at 219 over on DraftKings at -110. But when I look at it, I really just think it just proves to me that the side that I want to be on here is going to be Phoenix -1, which again, we can get a better price on -105 on DraftKings on that Phoenix -1. So that's the way I'm looking at the sides and the totals in this game. Now let's talk about the player props. There's a few player props that I'm interested in here. Again, some of them I would play on the sports book. Some of them we're going to play on the sleeper over-under game here today. And I'll tell you guys which are the ones that I'm going to be playing on each. So the first thing I like is going to be one that I really like on the sleeper over-under game, and that's Luka Doncic over 4.5 turnovers here. He had 7 turnovers last game. He had 5 in game 1. And even on the season, he's averaged over 4.5 turnovers. Now, again, a lot of turnovers doesn't mean that Luka Doncic is not a great player or not a great point guard. But if you watch these series and if you've watched the way that they played much of the year, the ball is in his hands all the time. Like this guy, when he is on the floor, the ball is always in his hands. So 4.5 turnovers, it sounds like a lot, but for a guy that's playing 40 minutes, I mean, you're talking like maybe 1 turnover every 9 or 10 minutes, like it's not that crazy of a number. And like I said, it's a number he's gone over in each of the first 2 games in the series. It's a number that he averages exactly 4.5 turnovers throughout the year. So we're not really asking him to do anything that's out of character for him. If the game's going to be sped up a little bit, we all know Phoenix's defense is very good. So there's obviously going to be a lot of opportunities for them to get those turnovers there. I think this is a good one here. So my first one for the sleeper app today, Luka Doncic over 4.5 points. The next over-under one that I like here today is going to be Jalen Brunson under 18.5 points. He only had 13 and 9 in the first 2 games. This is just really not a good matchup for him. The under here, you could actually get at a pretty good price. It's minus 105 on FanDuel right now, which I think is a very good price to take this at. So listen, when Luka was out in the first couple games, Jalen Brunson was awesome. But Jalen Brunson was basically playing the Luka role, right? Where the ball was in his hands all the time. He was running off screens. He was trying to penetrate, get into the lane, kick it out to his teammates if he got doubled, or make that little floater if he didn't get doubled. That's basically the way that they were playing. When Luka came back, he was still playing 35, 40 minutes. But in that last series, he was playing 35, 40 minutes against what wasn't as good a defense as the defense that they're playing here today. The defense that they're playing against with Phoenix here, he has not been able to get anything going in this series right now. So I don't really see Jalen Brunson taking a massive step up. Yes, they are home here today. But listen, we're not talking about like 14 or 15 points here, which is probably where he should be. His number is still elevated. 18.5 is a lot of points for Jalen Brunson. Again, without Luka, yeah, he was scoring 20 plus on a regular basis. But so far this series, this is a guy who hasn't even gotten to 14 yet, let alone up to 19, which is what he needs to cash here today. So I like the under on Jalen Brunson points, 18.5. This is one I would play at the sports books. Like I said, you can get this at minus 105 on FanDuel. That is the best price out there in the market. One more bet from the Dallas side here today. Going back to the Reggie Bullock rebounds. Reggie Bullock over 4.5 rebounds, also minus 105 on FanDuel. There's only been 2 games so far in the playoffs where he hasn't had at least 6 rebounds, and that was last game and 1 game in the first series. Both of those games he had 4. The number here is 4.5. So if you're telling me that the guy's worst, games so far in the playoffs have been at least 4 rebounds, and I only need him to get over 4.5, and in 5 of the 7 games he's played, he's gone over 4.5. That's going to be, or actually 6 of the 8 games. I think it's 6 of the 8 games now. That's a pretty interesting number to me. The fact that I can get a juice down at minus 105 when he's done it, 70%, 75% of the games he's played so far in the playoffs is another thing that I really like here. And again, when you look at something like this with Reggie Bullock, especially, it really comes down to the minutes on the floor, right? Like this is a guy that's been playing 35 to 40 minutes a game. He played 35 minutes the last game and he sat the last 4 minutes because it turned into a blowout. So he had 4 rebounds, 4 minutes less than he had been playing. This is a guy who's been averaging over 40 minutes, and that's not a typo. I know exactly what I just said there. He's been averaging over 40 minutes in this series for a very, undermanned Dallas Mavericks team right here. This is an undersized Dallas team, too, where everybody has to help out rebounding. And Reggie Bullock has been one of those guys that's been able to do that. He grabs some long rebounds on the missed threes. He'll also get in there and mix it up as well on offense and defense. Over 4.5 rebounds, Reggie Bullock, minus 105. I like this more on the sports books than I do on the sleeper app because, again, at minus 105, you're actually saying it's less than a 52% chance that this is going to happen. It's more like a 51% chance here. There are other things that we can use in the over-under game that are 55, 60% chances based on what the odds are at the sports books, the implied probability of them going over those numbers. We don't want to take one where, the implied probability is less than basically what our break even would need to be here. So I like this on minus 105 on the sports books. Not going to be playing it over on Sleeper. If you're looking for another one to play on Sleeper, though, here's the one that I really like in this game on Sleeper, and that's going to be Jay Crowder over 1.5 3-pointers. He's knocked down 3 in each of the first 2 games. He's taken 5 or 6 in each of those games as well. The reason I like the over 1.5 3-pointers, this is sitting at minus 125 to minus 135 out there in the books in the market, giving it like a 55 to 58% probability of happening based on the implied odds. That's something that we're going to like to use for the Sleeper over under game. Anytime we can get these minus 135, minus 140 things, those are the things that we want to include there. And I like the over on Jay Crowder at 1.5 3-pointers. And to sum it all up there, if you're looking for Sleeper today, here's the way I'm going to be playing it on the Sleeper app today. You could take Bam Adebayo in the first game over 18.5 points. Remember, he's had over 20 in each of the first 2 games here. The over 18.5, 55% implied probability, sitting at minus 125, minus 130 on DraftKings at BetMGM. And then the other one that I'm going to put together in the contest with that is going to be Jay Crowder over 1.5 3-pointers. Again, another one at minus 125, minus 130. Another thing that's a 55, 57% implied probability of happening. You could put those 2 things together. If you parlay those 2 things together on any one of the sports books, you're going to get a payout of about plus 225 to plus 230, meaning you put in $100, you end up with 325, 330, and a profit of $225, $230. If you play it over on the Sleeper app, you go down into the description, you click on the Sleeper tab that's in there, the link that'll take you there. Use promo code FTNBets when you put it in. Again, I always think you should max out the money they're going to give you for the free money for, which in this case is $100. So you put that $100 in, use promo code FTN, you have $200 to play with. You take that same $200 and you put it on this Bam Adebayo over 18.5 points and Jay Crowder over 1.5 3-pointers. If it wins on Sleeper, you're getting a plus 230 on the sports book. You get plus 500 as the payout on Sleeper for the same $100 that you put in there. You get your $100 at plus 200. You get a free $100 that you put in at plus 200 as well. That's going to give you that's going to give you a $600 payoff for a $100 investment, plus 500 odds on Bam Adebayo over points and Jay Crowder over 3-pointers. That is my Sleeper play of the day and the way to get a much juicier payout on it. So there you go. That's going to wrap it up for our NBA talk here at the FTN Betscast for Friday, May 6th. Sponsored by our good friends at Sleeper HQ. Good luck today, everybody.
Live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.